What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome into the second half of our preview edition here on the Changeup, getting you ready for opening day, which is today, of course. Happy opening day to everyone, and happy opening day to my co-host, as always, Bryanna Winner. You can find Bryanna at bwinner12. How you doing today?
I'm good. It's opening day. I'm happy. I'm sad that Mike Trout's currently day to day, but we'll get there.
Yeah, it's better than what seems to be coming with him. It's lengthy timeout. I think this is just an illness, from what and not COVID. So but no, just probably look. There's 162 of these bad boys. They want Mike Trout in most of those. Not going to worry too much early on about getting him on the field, but the overall health of Trout for both of us, as we both have Mike Trout on our fantasy teams, and I'm sure
I still don't know how I have both Otanis.
Yeah. It's crazy. That was a whole other podcast, but we are going to dive in. Obviously, this is probably coming out the weekend of opening weekend. So we have the American League preview podcast. That was one podcast before that. So make sure you go listen to that as well. This will be the National League side of things, but we do have some news to get to before we dive into all of that. And the first one's a little perplexing. Jose Ramirez was an individual who was talked about a lot in trade talks in the offseason. The Cleveland Guardians. It's going to be put to the test in this segment.
It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
It's going to be like the football team.
It is.
Money
yes.
jar.
The Guardians signed Jose Ramirez to a 5-year deal. Ironically, this bumps up their payroll by about 30%. They go from about $30 million this year to now 43. Congratulations to them, just as much as Max Scherzer's making this year. But the Cleveland Guardians sign Jose Ramirez. This team isn't going to be very good. They're obviously penny pinching one way or another, but they do sign the face of the franchise at the moment. So, Bryanna, what are your thoughts? Jose Ramirez signing up for a 5-year deal in Cleveland.
I mean, that division's going to be tough either way. So, I mean, good luck to him and to both of us if we can say Guardians every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's for the Guardians, I don't quite understand it.
I don't like the logo.
Yeah, it's everything about it. I don't know. I wanted the Cleveland Spiders. I did. I really, really wanted the Cleveland Spiders to give homage to the 138 lost team. And I know you don't really want to do that, but I thought the Spiders would have been a good name. But in terms of what's going on the field, I think most Guardians fans going back, throughout the years, maybe since Manny Ramirez has been there, it's been this type of thing. You hope that someone, you get lucky with some young players like Jose Ramirez and some of the other players that have come through the Indians. When they lost to the Cubbies, they had some good young talent, but that's all gone. They decided not to pay anybody. They did pay Jose Ramirez. Good for him. I think he's 32, so this is kind of a 5-year deal. Probably towards the end of this, they'll be regretting it. It is backloaded, but the Guardians do bring back or at least extend their piece. And this is going to be interesting because I think this complicates trade talks down the road. I don't think there are going to be a whole lot of teams in 2 or 3 years that are signing up to get a 35, 36-year-old Jose Ramirez making $20 million a year. So we'll see how that goes.
If he's like Brady and can just keep going for some odd reason, and actually does well.
Yeah, I with all due respect to Jose Ramirez, I would like you to look at the body of Jose Ramirez and then the body of Tom Brady. I think one keeps it in better shape than the other. Once again, as a guy who eats Jack in the Box and Carl's Jr. probably 5 times a week, I'm not judging, but yeah.
I said if.
Yeah, it's a long shot on that one. We'll say there, but a big trade as well came through. You don't see too many 1-for-1s. Usually there's some prospects mixed in, things like that. Not the case here. The Dodgers and the White Sox trade some, big name talent. The Dodgers will receive closer, relief pitcher, however you want to look at it, Craig Kimbrel, and the White Sox get outfielder AJ Pollock. Bryanna, you're already shaking your head. What are your thoughts?
It's just Kimbrel that I'm shaking my head at.
Yeah.
No offense, but he is kind of like a Kenley Jansen, where in big situations he's gonna choke. So I don't know what it is with the Dodgers and these type of closers, but good luck.
Yeah, I think Kimbrel may be a little bit more reliable than
Yes,
Jansen, but I
but at
agree
the
with
same
you.
time,
Yeah,
it's gonna happen probably more than you want.
It's Russian roulette. With Jansen, there are 2 bullets, or no, with Jansen, there are 3 bullets in the 6-shooter. With Kimbrel, there's 2 bullets in the 6-shooter, and you want your closer to be up there around 1 bullet in that 6-shooter. But I think for the White Sox, actually, here, this is a nice pickup. They have, you already kind of talked about it. They're really going to have to struggle to not win their division. That division is really bad.
I mean, last year they had to struggle to not win.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
they were so far ahead.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, I think for better or worse, I mean, you always like to remind me about the Twins, but I was hardly the only individual who thought the Twins were going to be better.
Oh, there are still people that think the Twins are going to be second in that league.
Well, and they could be this year, but that doesn't mean anything, because the entirety of that division is terrible. You have the White Sox, and then probably the White Sox AAA team. I mean, let's be honest. I could sit here and say that the Tigers probably may be the second best team. I will say shout out to the Royals and the Tigers and the Mariners. They're all bringing up their top prospects, not manipulating service time like what happened with Chris Bryant and countless others. They're bringing them up starting right away. Bobby Witt in Kansas City, Torkelson in Detroit, and Rodriguez in Seattle. But back to the Central and the White Sox. I think they're going to, like you said, by September, they're going to be, set. A lot of people are picking them to win the World Series, or at least win the American League. I don't know about that. I think there are other heavy hitters, because the other part of this too is when you do get to October, you'd like to be tested at some point, and they're going to go long stretches where they're playing Twins, Royals, Guardians, almost did it again, and those type of teams. And then eventually you get into October where the margin for error is very low. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the White Sox get AJ Pollock, and for the Dodgers, we talked about the Craig Kimbrel, but the Dodgers have so much depth in that bullpen. I mean, let's be honest, they could throw Gratterall out there as the closer. They could throw Trinan out there as the closer, or now Kimbrel. They did lose. I think, honestly, I would say Joe Kelly leaving this bullpen is more of a loss than Kenley Jansen. But bringing Kimbrel in, while I do agree with you that it's not all that it's chalked up to be, the Dodgers are kind of that team that they can go out and buy a bunch of lemon cars. They have so much money in the bank, they can just scrap them for metal and move on to the next one if it doesn't work out. So we'll see how that goes up there. And believe me, I know on this podcast, biasly, we're both hoping that does not work out for the Dodgers in a lot of ways. But we'll get to some predictions here in a little bit. But for now, we are going to step into the winner's circle. Bryanna is going to get us ready. Obviously, opening day for all teams, or most teams today. And Bryanna, what you got on this? Yeah, there were some postponements. I believe the rain in New York rained them out, and maybe another game or two on the Eastern.
The Mariners got postponed too.
Fair enough. But yeah, most teams will be starting off today if Mother Nature allows it. I believe the Angels will get going against the Astros, much to the chagrin of Bryanna, getting those cheaters out of the way early. But Bryanna, what have you got for us in the winner's circle?
I may be getting them out of the way early, but we're still going to face them multiple times because they are in our division.
Yeah.
So the biggest news is going to be Justin Upton being designated for assignment, and the team still owes him $28 million. I mean, he wasn't doing that well anyway in the last 2 years, so I understand it, but the $28 million is definitely going to hurt because they're not, like we said, the Dodgers, who have money to spend. Like I said earlier, Mike Trout is day-to-day with an illness, but Joe Maddon is optimistic he is going to start today, with today being opening day. He's optimistic he will start today. And then, so obviously they start with the Astros today through Sunday. Ohtani is going to get the opening day start, which I know you're looking forward to also. He's going to be going up against Valdez. And then tomorrow you've got Patrick Sandoval against Odorizzi. And on day 3, you got Syndergaard getting his first Angel start against Justin Verlander.
Ooh.
So
The return of Justin Verlander as well. It seems like years since we've seen Verlander.
Well, he's always hurt.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be the game to watch, pitching wise. I mean, opening day, everybody just wants to see what Ohtani does because he did really well in spring training. So we'll see what he does. And then Jose Suarez is going to start Sunday against Urquidy. I'm sorry if I butcher the name. And then Monday and Tuesday, they get a little bit of a break with the Marlins, but we'll see.
Gotcha.
But that's pretty much all the news that's come out. And I know that Brandon's really excited to talk about his, and I'm going to mute up.
There was definitely some moves that came out for the Padres, but that's kind of an interesting one for me. You get a division matchup with the Astros, and then kind of an odd one, bring on the Marlins, which are, obviously the almost complete opposite of the Angels geographically and kind of the way they're going, with the Angels having 2 of the best players in baseball and the Marlins. I challenge you without
and
Google
my fantasy team Marlins having both Ohtani's, Trout, and Syndergaard.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's gonna be a fun week.
It is. And hopefully, for the Angels, first and foremost, they stay healthy, and then when that happens, we get to see them in October. That's all we want. I think that's a winnable division for them, and we'll see how it goes.
I'm still scared of the Mariners.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think the Mariners and Astros, those and the Angels, those are going to be the 3 teams that are fighting it out. I think it's going to come down to who can beat up on the Rangers and A's the most. I think those are 2 of the worst teams in all of baseball. It's
Diamondbacks.
Yeah, okay, maybe the A's. The A's, I think, are going to be the worst team in all of baseball. I mean, they have tried to sell everything. I'm pretty sure there's a popcorn guy who's been in trade talks, whether he knows it or not. But that fire sale has gotten really hot. And let's not forget, they lost their manager as well, which brings me to my San Diego Padres, of course, who poached Bob Melvin out of the desolate Coliseum in Oakland to bring him to beautiful Petco Park. And for the Padres, it is opening day today, the 4-game set against the Diamondbacks. This is, I believe, the 3rd or 4th year in a row the Padres will begin the season facing Madison Bumgarner. It's just kind of a quirk in the schedule. They were obviously supposed to start the season off against the Giants. The lockout has pushed the season start date back, so they will start against the Diamondbacks. And kind of cool, they'll have their home opening series against the defending world champion Atlanta Braves next week, so that'll be interesting. But Padres stay in the state of Arizona. They'll head to Chase Field. I think that's still called Chase Field. They've changed so much these days. But anyways, to start 4-game series against the Diamondbacks, who, the Diamondbacks probably going to be, I don't know if they're going to lose 116 games again, but they're probably going to lose over 100 games, probably 100, 105 if I would be, betting on that. But early on, the Padres have to kind of beat up on teams like this. Some news that came down today, I think huge news. I was telling Bryanna, it's kind of like, I get opening day, and Santa also brought me a gift.
It's a happy day for you.
It is. Waking up to the news that the sheriff mall cop, Chris Paddock, has been sent to Minnesota. You get beautiful weather here in San Diego, and now you're going to go up to Minnesota. With all due respect to the people up in the Great North, I think they'll even admit that the weather down here is on its worst day better than more than likely up there in its best. So Chris Paddock and Emilio Pagan, just another little, hey, get out of here as well. Beautiful day for the Padres. They get rid of Emilio Pagan, who at times can look really nasty and at other times look like a BP pitcher. Guys up there just serving up meatballs. So I am a huge fan of this trade, even if we got a bag of baseballs back. But we actually get Taylor Rogers, who is more than likely going to step in and be the closer for this team, and helps out the bullpen. The Padres have an abundance of starting pitching. They didn't need Chris Paddock, as if you've been listening to this podcast, pretty much throughout the years, I have not been a big fan of Chris Paddock. If there's one bit of advice I would give to Chris Paddock going to Minnesota: calm down. He's a football player mentality in a starting pitcher. And what I mean by that is he's like a linebacker who makes a great play, jumps around, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? You can run off the field, take a breath for a play or two, and then run back on the field. In baseball, you're fist pumping and all that stuff. In the second inning, when you strike out the number 9 hitter, bro, you need to go 6 innings. So let's not waste half of your breath on your little stomach pumping. But Bryanna has unmuted. So what you got for
I have.
me?
Well, and going off of Paddock, I had Brandon in my head saying, "Don't draft him, don't draft him, don't draft him."
As
so I
should be in
avoided Paddock
everyone's.
like the plague.
Yes, hopefully I'm in everyone's head in their fantasy draft.
And the person that I just texted, get rid of Paddock, he's like, why?
Well, you can just send him the link to this and tell him what time it starts. Because for Paddock, he needs to calm himself down. He is way too high strung to be a major league starting pitcher. You have to have a mentality that is very kind of it can't be the heart monitor in the hospital. We can't have those spikes. It's got to be a flat line, let's be honest. So for the Padres, bringing in Rogers and more for me is the addition by subtraction, and that's getting rid of Paddock, getting Paddock out of the conversation of starting anytime soon. Bit of concerning news on the starting pitching side. Mike Clevenger will start the season on the DL. When you have a pitcher coming off of Tommy John and then they start the season on the DL, that's worrying. However, you dive in a little deeper and realize it's a lower body injury. So not the end of the world. More than likely during rehab, probably skipped a leg day or two, focused on that upper body and, started doing his thing pitching, and the legs just weren't as strong as they needed to be. So I'm not panicking there. I think the Padres bringing in Sean Manaea, that's going to be, I think the rotation is perfectly fine right now, assuming Darvish and Snell can be a lot more consistent than they were last year. I love some of the things I saw out of Darvish, but he struggled towards the middle of the season. He gets the start tonight against the Diamondbacks, that 4-game set. Padres, let's get a three out of 4, because it's going to be a tough ask against the Atlanta Braves next week, which is a perfect little segue into the final segment of the show today. It's the preview of the National League. Once again, we previewed the American League in the previous podcast, so make sure you go check that out when you're all done here. The question that we're going to be running through, the questions, I should say, we'll start with the divisions. Who's going to take the division? What are you looking for? Any predictions, anything like that? We'll start with probably the best division in this league. It is the National League East. Bryanna, who do you like in this division to come out on top?
I think it's going to be Atlanta, mostly because they're returning a lot of people. The Marlins are going to struggle in this division. It's probably going to be a 3-way race for second. But if it's anything like, what was it, last year, where everybody was like neck and neck until like the last month, yeah. I think that's how it's going to be, but I think Atlanta's going to pull away.
Yeah, Vegas isn't too big on the Braves. I think their over-under win total is like 88.5. This is a team, look, we all know they lost Freddie Freeman, they lost Jock Peterson, but they bring in, Kenley Jansen, and they bring back Rosario, and for better or worse, they bring in Matt Olson, who is younger and now more controllable than Freddie Freeman. Maybe not the icon that Freddie Freeman was, maybe not the leader that Freddie Freeman was, but you could make a case that the Braves are better this year than they were last year, and I'm kind of in that boat. However, I think the Phillies and Mets are also better. But the one thing with the Mets, it seems like that old injury bug has moved from one side of New York to the other, because obviously DeGrom, who his last 3 months of the season pretty much shut down, and now there are question marks. Throw in Max Scherzer, who, I mean, is as tough as they come. He's a bit of a question mark. I do think he'll be going a lot earlier than DeGrom, but those two guys, if those two guys don't get big innings this year, I don't think the Mets can compete. And then it brings us to the Phillies. And the Phillies made some good moves this year. I think they bring this offseason, I should say, they bring in some good bats. The big part for me will be the pitching staff, though. Nola, Wheeler, some of those guys, can they be the top flight of the rotation? And if you ask any Phillies fan, what is the biggest issue you've had, really going down the last 5-10 years? They'll tell you it's that bullpen. What does that bullpen do? Or
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I mean, well, in the Phillies, they have been, it seems almost comical in some situations, and it's been difficult for them. I don't know if they really went out and I'm sure they feel like they plugged in some holes, but they didn't go out and get anybody that really jumps off the table. It's probably going to be a bit of a committee situation, but I do agree with you. I think the Braves win this division. I think the Marlins and Nationals, thank you for playing, but you're just filling out the numbers at this point. And then for the Mets, if they can somehow, I don't even want to say stay healthy, I'm just going to say get healthy in a relative way. They may have a chance at it, but until they get healthy, until that pitching staff gets up to 100%, I am not a believer in the Mets. But yeah, I really like the Braves. Take the over on the 88.5 wins. I think they're in the 90s. And they're back to defend their title. So we'll see how that goes. So another big part of the strategy for teams as well is trying to get one of those top 2 seeds, if you will, because then you get a bye into the, quote unquote wild card round, divisional round, whatever they're going to call it. So we'll see how that goes. Moving to the Central, which is kind of a wide open division. There are a lot of people who are really big on the Cardinals. But we'll see how that goes. Bryanna, obviously your Cubbies are in this division. I don't think you have very high hopes as you shake your head. But overall, for the Central, who do you like? Who do you think is the division winner when it is all said and done?
I think it's really going to be between the Cardinals and the Brewers, especially if they stay healthy and are able to play to their best. Because look, Pittsburgh's not going to get it done. Cincinnati, they were on a hot streak last year, and then they kind of just fell off the face of the earth and just couldn't get it done. And I kind of expect that now. And the Cubs are the Cubs. I got no other words for that one.
Yeah.
But I think Pittsburgh is going to be 5th in this.
Yeah. Yeah. The Pirates, long gone are the days of Garrett Cole and Andrew McCutchen leading them to a 1-game playoff and then losing that 1-game playoff. But yeah, that was the glory days of the Pirates post Barry Bonds, early 90s, late 80s for them. I agree with you. They're going to probably finish last. The Reds, Cubs right there kind of fighting out for 3rd and 4th place. I'm going to go back with the Brewers. I really like the Brewers pitching staff. I think at the end of the day, not only is their pitching staff going to carry them, but the health of their pitching staff. We talk about the Mets and their struggles. Well, Woodruff, Peralta, Corbin Burns, that 1-2-3 was pretty much Sharpie those guys in. They're not going to get hurt for the most part. I'll knock on wood for all you Brewers fans and those 3 individuals, so I'm not jinxing anybody. But those were the guys. And they were out there putting up 150, 180 innings. I would like to see more out of Corbin Burns workload-wise. The 120 innings, whatever it is, the 5 and fly for a lot of guys. I just get through 6 innings when you're doing well. I just get to 100 pitches. I hate to sound like that old guy that says get off my lawn, but I feel like starting pitchers these days get paid so much money to pitch 10 innings a week. It's crazy to me. But I like the Brewers here. I think the Cardinals are going to be fighting it out for them, but those two are going to be going at it. Give me the Brewers winning the division for a 2nd year in a row. Moving to
you going first or me?
Yeah, the Dodgers are going to win the division. Bryanna, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think your Padres are unfortunately going to get 3rd.
Wow. Okay, throwing bullets early.
San Francisco, man.
Okay. I think San Francisco finishes 4th in this division. Rockies finish better than the Giants, I believe. Yep.
Hell no.
Yep.
No.
That's my bold prediction. I don't think the Giants are going to be very good this year.
I think it's going to be between the Dodgers and the Giants, but I think it's going to be the Dodgers, and I really hate saying it.
Dodgers definitely going to win this division, probably win it
Unless
by
they
10, 12
choke
games.
like they did last year.
Yeah, but even then they choked. By then the division was long gone. Their choke came in October, which any Padre fan would love to just be playing in October. But I do think the Dodgers win this division. I think the Padres finish second, fighting it out, probably 8-10 games behind. And like I said, I think the Giants take a large step back here. Their pitching last year, I don't want to say fluky, but I don't know if we see Dave Scafani as at that all-star level again. I do like Logan Webb. He's on my fantasy team, so keep dominating with that sinker. But I think Gabe Kapler got a little bit of lightning in a bottle last year and rode with it. I like the Rockies. I think overall, if they can at least pitch, average giving up 4 or 5 runs a game at Coors, I think that lineup can do some things.
But the Rockies may have gotten Bryant, but they got rid of Story.
Yeah, but they have a lot of. I mean, I've always liked Connor Joe. I think the overall ability of Bud Black as a manager is leaps and bounds what Gabe Kapler can do.
We're agreeing with who's last in this division, though, right?
Oh yes, the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks. The only question for the Diamondbacks is going to be how many losses, right? Is it 105? Is it 110? Or is it 115 again? That is we are in full. The top and bottom of this division, unanimous podcast, and I think probably throughout most baseball circles. And I'm the guy, and I'm sure there are not too many other people that are saying that the Giants will finish fourth. And if the Giants go out and do what they did again last year, I'll be the first one to put my hand up and go, "Yep, I was wrong." But I'm not a huge fan of what I've seen from the Giants in the offseason, things like that. But it's going to be very interesting. Dodgers, unfortunately, I think we both agree, the class of this team, this division, and kind of brings me to the next question, Bryanna. Come October, the late part of October, who do you believe is going to be representing the National League in the World Series?
Well, let's be honest. We both hope that the Dodgers do what they did last year, just choke.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to come from the Central. I think it's either going to be Atlanta or the Dodgers. But that's also going to depend on if the Dodgers choke or not, which we both hope they do.
Yeah.
Sorry to my Dodger-loving family and friends.
Yeah. I am going to, unfortunately, have to go with the Dodgers. Just the unbiased part of me. It's on paper, nobody really stacks up to what they've thrown together on the field. I do think the Braves and Brewers, if they can stay healthy, and another part of this too, getting home field advantage. If somehow, some way, someone can finish with a better record than the Dodgers, I think that we'll see a better opportunity for the Braves or the Brewers or someone else to kind of come out in October. And you've brought it up. Look, October, Dodgers, that, like many small toys for children, is a choking hazard. So we hope that continues this year all the way into that, and doesn't really matter who else, anybody but the Dodgers. That's the new hashtag for the season for the podcast. Anybody but the Dodgers.
Or Houston.
Yeah, but I'll be honest.
I can hope.
I'll be honest. I think in the next month or two, if that Yankee report is released, we're going to realize that not only were the Astros not the only team cheating, but they were actually, it was pretty tame compared to what the Yankees were doing, but that's for another day. The Astros as well. We don't need them there, but if it's Dodgers, Astros, let's go Stros. And if you got to cheat, do it. I don't care. But Bryanna, final thoughts for the changeup.
Well, we're only an hour away from the first game of the day, which happens to be the Brewers and the Cubs. And sorry, Cubbies, you're losing that game. But who are the pitchers? It's Hendricks versus Burns. They're losing. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Kyle Hendricks, I don't trust you. But I'm ready to see if Ohtani can have the same season he did last year. And again, like I said last week, he believes he's unsatisfied with last year, and that scares me. Although I love it, but it scares me.
Should scare everyone in the American League and in baseball having to deal with him, whether it's at the dish or on the mound. You can do it all. The modern day Babe Ruth, I would say Babe Ruth is the old school Shohei Ohtani at this point. That's where we're headed in this situation. But it is opening day. Everyone's 0-0. No matter what we just talked about, either on this podcast or the one before, it doesn't matter. The 162 games that are going to be played, those will be the ones that matter. Will decide who wins it all. And look, after a long, dark off season where there were a lot of question marks of whether or not we would get baseball in April or baseball at all, we only lost 1 week. We're still getting 162 games. Put it behind us. If you're a true baseball fan, just enjoy what you have in front of you. That's what I know what I'm going to be doing. Enjoy all of it. Thank you all so much for listening to the Changeup. We'll be back with you next week to break down all the festivities of the first week. And it is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon. Take care.